Hello, and welcome in to Bear With Us on the Bear Claw Media podcast feed and presented by Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, offering specialty all-beef hot dogs, savory sides, plus the self-pour beer wall. Perfect setting for a night out with friends or a family outing. Stop by and hashtag Beat the Craving today. I am Chris Bolin, and I am joined, as always, here by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
Oof. Yesterday was fun. I got to get in on the fourth quarter radio show with you boys. But, yeah, we didn't have a lot to talk about. We were stretching it. I think the most interesting thing was just trying to figure out who the heck the fifth running back at Montana State was.
Yeah, we got literally into the backup quarterback. I think Blylen, whatever his name was, did not prepare for him. Didn't even know how to pronounce his name the minute they subbed him in. It was kind of funny because I was frantically looking on that name sheet, and Jacob was like over my shoulder trying to like indicate that it was not Lamson anymore. But I think that kind of sums it up. 55-7, just blah, man. UNC had lost all 5 games by a combined 34 points, I believe. So we more than covered that here yesterday. Just a letdown game. And I think UNC was due for one. The way they fought in every game. I don't want to overreact to this because it was horrible and you could overreact pretty easily. But Lamb said something in postgame that interested me. And he was like, he basically said we needed this. Like, I think, and I'm choosing to focus on that. Like, nobody wants to be humbled, but I think even even though we had lost a few games, I think we are still kind of playing with the confidence of a team that was maybe better than we are, which I like to see because it felt like lack of confidence was an issue in the past couple seasons. But, maybe it's like a gut check to be like, okay, we need to kind of relock in and get going back in the right direction here.
Yeah, I think gut check. I think reality check. The top 5 team in the country, especially after this past week, it might be climbing up. Beyond the Den is going to be a crazy episode. I'm not even sure where to start with that one. But yeah, this is a potentially top 3 at this week in the season.
I can say they will be my number 2 team. I can say that confidently. Fair
enough. So I mean, we're reaching that high in the rankings. This is the kind of talent that's in Greeley. I mean, shoot, even we joke about it, but realistically, like even Jared White, the 5th string running back, where I was trying to do hand signals to you that didn't look like gang signs. I was like, oh god, like who is this kid? Like even him, he was cutting up holes, and I think we were kind of demoralized at that point. We probably had some of our 3rd string in as well, which 5th versus 3rd is probably about the same as starters versus starters across the universities. But yeah, it was a rough day. But I mean, there's not much that we could do at this point. Like we're striving to be championship ready, but like let's be honest, like we have a ways to go. We have some unlucky breaks this season that could have made the record look how it deserves to look, like CSU. Again, I won't say FCSU because it's not 5 minutes in. The algorithm doesn't like that. But FCSU, that should have been our first FBS win. South Dakota was just a couple plays away. I know Coach hates this type of talk. He even said himself, I'm not the type of guy that's going to look at a couple plays and say that we could be several wins better. But reality is, Bears could be several wins better with a couple plays difference this season. So I think the record is disrespectful of the efforts. But of course, that's just what anybody's going to see. Outsiders, those not paying attention and whatnot. This is a 3-win team, but really they've been playing so much improved. And I hope the fans just still have a modicum of humility to accept that, like, yes, it's 3 wins on paper, but it's a whole universe better than what we had last year.
Yeah, there were literally like in preseason pick'em, national podcasts, whoever cared enough to dig in to do like over-unders for different conferences. The line was set, I believe it surely 1.5 across anybody who did this. And I feel like there was a fair argument to pick the under. Like they'll beat Shadron, maybe, and then like you start searching for that second win throughout the schedule. So I think they've already exceeded what anybody who wasn't paying attention expected, and honestly, I didn't know what to expect having paid attention and really drinking the Kool-Aid last year to be very heavily, very very disappointed. But I feel justified for drinking the Kool-Aid this year. But it's just a little bit unfortunate. I think the record is disrespectful of the effort's a good way to put it. I don't quite know what that means, but it makes sense in my head, so.
Just in the sense of like this team is better than what everything on paper says. Like Gibson, it's crazy that our backup quarterback, the dude who was sailing balls in spring game, somehow locked in enough to be the second most yards in the conference. Of course, we'll have to look at stats after yesterday, and around top 5 to top 7 in yards in the whole FCS. Like that's nuts. Like sure, we're not getting a ton more wins from it, but we're getting a lot more excitement. We're getting a lot more production. Players are getting more yards. The receivers are actually involved in the game this year. We're not just a I don't know, a hole and spackle type run type team where it's like we just barely like got a win because we caused 5 turnovers, 3 of them in the end zone. And, hey, there's this little Hawaiian kid who's so short that he goes through the gaps perfectly and does a beautiful spin move to make a touchdown. Like, outside of that, like, all those qualifiers, like, this year's just so much better. Like, it just is what it is.
All right, Ben, are you ready to be the problem here? Because
I'm ready to be the whole problem, Chris.
So I think not just you. You are the problem most of the time. What I'm talking about here is the greater we. We are about to be the problem. I'm just giving you shit, buddy. But the thing we have to talk about from this game, and I'm not hesitant to because like it's what I kind of want to talk about, but I don't like adding to whatever noise there is about this. Costelli came in for 2 plays in the first half. One, I think, 2 runs. Like one gained 3 yards, the second lost 5 or whatever. So two kind of whatever plays. And then spelled Gibson for about the whole fourth quarter after it was out of reach. Costelli, obviously the starter coming into the season. We kind of thought he was out for the year. That's how it was kind of reported at first. Partially by us, but also to us. And then I will say they backtracked a little bit. Maybe we jumped the gun, but whatever. But nonetheless, not out for the season. Found out he was pretty much getting back to practice, ready, like game ready, I guess. I don't think anybody actually expected him to play here yesterday, but he did. He honestly looked about like he looked against Shadron, if I'm not crazy. He didn't seem like he was super rusty. He didn't do anything that blew me away. Coming into this game, I think it would have been ludicrous to say we're going away from Eric Gibson Jr. to Costelli. After this game, Eric Gibson Jr. 19 of 33 for just 93 yards. I still think it would just be, I don't want to say dumb. I don't know what the word would be, man. It feels unnecessarily controversial to go back to Costelli. And even getting him run in this game feels unnecessarily adding like a doubt in the locker room about is Gibson our guy? And like adding an uncertainty when you've had the best quarterback you've had on this team in at least 7 or 8 years. And he's not perfect. He has had some turnover issues, the pick sixes, the fumbles, but he's been moving the ball. And like you said, just bringing an excitement to this team that we haven't had, especially in the 3 years of Ed Lamb, but really since it's very is akin to that Kyle Sloter season. He's not having as much success, but like, backup comes in, slinging the ball around, putting up a lot of yards. It feels similar to that season.
I don't know if I would even say that he's not having that much success because I feel like statistically he's doing better than Sloter. I mean, we'd have to go back and track that week versus week, but wins wise, he's not as fruitful. But I also think that that's a little bit of unlucky favor against the Bears. So yeah, Costelli came in, absolutely turned my stomach that was something the coaching staff thought was a appropriate choice. Um, Mostly based off of the fact that I think um, it's crazy that you have Darrell, preparing all these weeks while Costelli's out, and like he's basically Gibson light, Gibson diet, if you will, and then it's just like he's been doing this. You put the precedent forward with Bryce not starting the last couple weeks because it's based off availability, it's based off health, it's based off practice reps, it's based off of how involved you are in practices. And sure, do we know that with Darrell? Not necessarily, but there's no reason that we know of that he wouldn't be the most involved, that he wouldn't be just as prepared as he has been the last couple weeks. And it's just kind of crazy that like the guy who prepared and coach's statements like how he's been treating the running backs is like whoever's the most prepared, you're going in. So for them to outwardly say like Costelli not being out is more prepared than Darrell preparing to be the backup for the past month, I don't know, that just kind of turns me the wrong way for sure.
I think that's a bad faith argument. I think you're yeah. Also, Costelli's been back and practicing for a couple weeks. Like, we don't know that he hasn't been taking the backup reps from Darrell. We don't know that he hasn't been taking his own, working back in his own way. I don't understand why you're bringing Darrell into this. Is the thing, like, why? I understand why they would. Costelli's just in a different tier, and I feel like even maybe Costelli at 75%, they like more than Darrell fully healthy, where there's 5 running backs where if Matthias Price is 60-75%, there are a couple guys that maybe they like a little better than him. I guess I get what you're saying, but I feel like I don't quite understand why you're bringing Darrell into this. Like, are you saying he should have played that fourth quarter? I don't know what that would have accomplished necessarily.
Yes.
Why would you
I'm
go to
saying
Darrell
if it
instead of
doesn't
just
matter
staying with Gibson?
anyways, get Darrell some reps. Like it's
He's
not like he's been in a
what
game all
the
season.
backup who's out of eligibility after this year.
Well, yeah. Like if we're gonna be respectful to our seniors, like, and you're losing in a game to a top 5 FCS opponent, and there's absolutely no fucking way that you're gonna win the goddamn game.
Yeah, let's
Like,
get the starter who hasn't played in 6 weeks a little.
why?
Let's shake
Why?
off the
You
rust.
qualify Costelli for me. Do it. Qualify Costelli, because I'm not seeing the worth of it. Why not put out some guy who doesn't matter and put him out there, let him get some reps? Because like if he gets hurt, who cares? He means nothing to the season if he gets hurt, right?
I mean, yes, I feel rude
Costelli
saying
means
it,
something
but
if he
yes,
gets hurt, because then Gibson, if he gets hurt or sick or otherwise, then we go to who knows what. So
Darrell.
Costelli, I hate to say it, we gotta save. We gotta put on the shelf. Like
Well,
he's a contingency plan. Why ruin the contingency plan?
because I think I assume they see him as more than a contingency plan. I think they see if he's fully healthy, even if Gibson is the starter. I think they see packages for Costelli. I think there's like also you can't if he got cleared, you can't handle him with kid gloves. Like if he's gonna get hurt again, he's gonna get hurt. But you can't. I feel like not playing him for fear of injury is like is it sets the wrong mindset. It's a little hazy when you get late into a game like that. But I don't know. I think there's value in putting Costelli in to see like, hey, this was our guy coming into the year. We've had nothing going on offense. Let's see what he can do. Let's shake off a little bit of the rust. So maybe if we need him down the line, he'll be more ready and won't have not played in 4 months. All this to say, I don't know how you find a way, Ben. You find a way to make me defend Costelli on every one of these podcasts. I have no desire to do that. I think Eric Gibson should be the starter. I don't think Costelli should even necessarily have packages outside of like anything more than like what Hank Gibbs has, where it's very specific situations you bring him in. But it makes sense. I'm not. It makes sense that they played him in that fourth quarter to me. Like I think is where I settle it. it just makes sense to me. Like, I don't think they should bring him back as the starter over Gibson, but there's also, if he gets hurt, then we play Gibson, the guy who's been playing all season anyway.
No. No, I don't even know where to start with that. Actually, I do. Here, I'll trash Costelli because I'm the bad guy. I'm always the villain. So let me go in my villain box for a second. Besides a wide open 22-yard pass, Costelli did nothing important yesterday, and he looked like he was playing scared. Like, why on earth would you want to put a product in front of the fans who have been disenfranchised for so many years of like, hey, look, that shiny guy that we said was like the prophet that said that like he was going to be the next guy and hasn't delivered for the last couple of years because he's been hurt or just things haven't worked out otherwise. Yeah, he's out here playing like he's absolutely afraid of anything that touches him. And like he looked pillow soft yesterday. I'll be honest. Like
what did he do that looks what did
Chris,
he do that looks scared?
Pause. Hey, pause, brother. It's my soapbox right now. He looked fucking pillow scared. Like he slid down 3 yards before an edge defender was anywhere in any type of way of like tackling him. He slid down way in the backfield. He didn't even think about throwing it out of bounds. He looked pillow soft. Like
I'll give you that one. That was
running packages.
That was garbage. That was
garbage. Are you gonna let me talk? I let you talk. There we go. Okay, so when Costelli did run, he looked atrocious. He got to the line of scrimmage most of the time. Like, of course, our stats were pretty fucked up last night, but he had 6 carries for -5 yards. Like, that's not impressive. That's not getting us anywhere. Like, Darrell would at least run up the middle of the line, theoretically, with how big he is. Like, why do we want to put Peter out there against some of the toughest, most, highly recruited prospects in the entire nation? Like, why is that your comeback game against some of the best players in the FCS? Like, if anything, he should have come back next week to help out. But like, putting him on the line again and just for him to play scared, like if he's gonna play like a wild man, all right, that's his deal. Like that's been his brand for the last 2 years. Like for him to go off brand and it be against in garbage time, like that's the time to take risks, if anything. And he looks like he was absolutely like shocked to even be near other players. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe he doesn't feel as good as he does. Maybe he's just like mentality wise, maybe coaches told him to take it easy, but like I wanted to vomit at just seeing him on the field like that. Like him being a shell of himself, not being the wild man risk taker, like that was disgusting. He deserves better than that.
You've criticized him every step of the way being that wild man. You literally said like he needs to run less, he needs to slide, he needs to like take less risks and put himself in harm's way less. And now that he does that, I think crunch like garbage time's the perfect time to not take unnecessary hits. Back to like your original point. I don't know. I don't think it's crazy that they played him this week. I kind of liked when they brought him in the first half, just as a like nothing was going with Gibson. Let's try it. It felt weird when they subbed him out for third down and then just handed it off. But even that I understood to an extent. I don't
Here,
like.
I'll agree with you on this. It's weird for the locker room for sure. It's like, is he just coming in for packages? Is it gonna stay just for packages? Because like on the radio, like, and I think we said it last week too on our podcast, is 60% of Gibson's turnovers have been in the past 2.5 games. Before this game. So like in this game, he threw another pick, so I'd have to do the percentages on that again. So majority of his turnovers actually have been in
as not like the others, but another pick six which we should give a shout out to that D tackle. I still never learned his name, but
that was
good for him.
Cool. I think it was 94.
I think it was maybe 99, but nonetheless.
Okay, well, now that we actually,
yeah, we do have stats.
Could we find it on the stats now?
I'll make your point. I'll keep digging. I'll see if I can find it.
We were severely handicapped during the game. There was technical issues with the stats department, so we were in the dark per se for the fourth quarter. But yeah, shout out to that big man. It was
Yeah,
super unfortunate for us.
Talon
Um,
Marsh is his name.
there we go. Shout out to him. He did a great job. Just big dude. He had a gift from the sky pop up in his hands. So definitely a weird one. But let's also qualify. Let's just round it up to 65% of Eric's turnovers have happened in the last 3.5 games. Also, look at who we've been playing. We've been playing very tough opponents. So, as much as we should be critical in practices and like preaching ball security is job security, at the same time, like you got to realize like you played against Sac State, which was, tossing us around for all that we could, and that almost came out our way. But, we handicapped ourselves. And against UC Davis, like we were trying our best, but like there's just things that went wrong. But these are bigger teams that are in very big conversations, and the fact that turnovers came up against them, notable because that's something we have to coach for. We have to coach. We have Costelli or Gibson. We have to coach them to be able to not turn over in big moments against better teams. So that's just a learning moment for everybody. But I think that's a little bit of an excuse too. I know that might be a little soft, but like at least we're not doing that against Shadron all day long.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't get lost in this because Gibson had a terrible game, but
Yeah.
he had a terrible game against a really good defense. And last week he had an. I thought he played okay against UC Davis. There were a couple like the drops by Garrison and Brandon Johnson last week that stalled drives, the two OPIs that Lamb has talked pretty extensively on, that were like out of his control where he did make mistakes, but I think those ones, I think you can chalk up a bad game just being the sum of a bunch of different pieces last week. This week, I don't want to just excuse it away. A really good team. I hope they stick with Eric Gibson Jr. next week against Northern Arizona, so we can see how much of an aberration that was, or like did he just face a couple good teams, or have teams like figured out this UNC offense? And I'm afraid it's the latter because it seems like since the UC Davis and now Montana State have heavily played to like take away the outside deep passing game, um, there hasn't quite been an answer, and they haven't found a way to like run the ball up the middle with success when they don't have when they have the safeties and like even linebackers shading more outside. That could be a why haven't we given the ball to Matthias Price issue. I'm a little more lenient with the like they're not playing because of injuries because I ultimately don't know how banged up people are. But I just hope they don't give up on Gibson Jr. too early because of like two bad games against good teams.
See, and I have another qualm for the offense here, which I think will spark another debate. Is I think we both agree that like, excuse me, since Sac State, this offense has seemed muted. It seemed a bit of a shell of itself, and there's a myriad of ways you can debate why or how, but I think the undisputable fact is that the offense has regressed, not only in production but in play calling. I think this weird come back to the beginning of the season, do a bunch of screens, earn each little yard, like chunk plays, like how coach was talking about UC Davis in the post game, is that they weren't trying to get everything back all at once; they were trying to get it back chunk by chunk, and I understand that makes a lot of sense in an educated football perspective. In a realistic view, that's not possible here. That's not something that we can play with. We have to take risks. We don't For us to make every little building block correct and win the game that way is um a very dangerous way to go, because then that means we need to be 90 to 95 to even higher than that percent correct and perfect on all those building blocks. Like I think that's kind of the reason that we didn't win some of the games earlier in the year, is that we were too afraid to kind of let the reins out. And I think you're right, at Sac State we might have let the reins out too much and kind of cost ourselves quite a bit of turnovers that way. But I think I think we can't coach scared. I think that's something I heard from a lot of fans. It's what I've seen online a lot is offensively, we can't coach scared. I think Hadley's pulling his hair out, even though he doesn't have any. I think he's reaching in and, or is that Hadley? Am I getting mixed up?
Who are you talking about? Hadley's the defensive coordinator.
Right.
I think he has hair, but I think he buzzes it. So
Okay.
I think your
Even
point
the little
plays.
bits, he's pulling from the roots, brother. He's digging deep. Like Coach even said in the post game, he was like, Hadley's trying his best, but he was devastated yesterday. I bet 55 points. It's a reason to be devastated. But like when the offense just can't produce and it's not producing because you're doing play calling that handicaps the offense in the first place, like making routes that don't even go to the first down, doing screens on screens on screens when you've just seen your guy get speared in the backfield. Like it's play calling that is it's a shot in the foot. It's self-sabotage. So I don't know what you think about that, but I think online, I think the fans have been correct that at least the offensive play calling has been coaching scared.
I I get what you're saying. I don't think the play calling's really changed. I think the way the defense has, yeah, I don't think that they weren't calling deep shots down the field on every play. They were calling RPOs, and the defense gave them one on ones on the outside, so they were throwing it deep. And now they're not getting those one on ones on the outside. And you could argue that maybe that they need to pivot off of that, and the play calling hasn't adapted the way it needs to. I don't think it's like, and you could say maybe for that reason it's gotten worse. I don't think they've changed what they're doing for the worse necessarily. I think a lot of those screenplays aren't the first read, and I think Gibson's under pressure and just swings it out. Some of them are like the motion screen with like Cheeks, and I think Win on one of those in the first half. But a couple of those later in the game, I think, are just the relief valve when there's nobody open across the original reads. Um, so I'm like hesitant to say like Walter Scheid's coaching scared. I think he was, if anything, the way I see it, I think he was maybe coaching a little scared at the beginning of the year, up until the South Dakota game. Pulled the like unleashed the reins on Gibson a little bit against Houston Christian. Saw him throw 2 pick sixes, kind of tighten him back up. Then who was next? Was it Idaho State? Idaho
Yeah.
State was kind of in that ilk. During the bye, they figured something out, unleashed it, looked great against Idaho and Sac State. And then I think the conference is caught up a little bit, and they figured out what UNC wants to do. They figured out we got to keep safety over the top on each side. And I'm also hesitant to like really be too critical, because I think the Montana State secondary is really good. There were some shorter timing routes that I think would work against 11 out of 12 teams in the conference that Montana State was a step quicker to, like breaking up passes right as they got to the receiver. So I don't think he's coaching scared. I think it's just been a combination of things that are kind of have come to a head in the last 2 games against really good teams.
See, I'm gonna disagree, but in a different fashion. Because like the seam routes, sure, we can say that. We can say that there's been double coverage on that.
Even the
I
one
think
that,
Gibson.
sorry, not to cut you off, but even the one Costelli completed, he put like the safety was over the top. He just got it there a little bit like in time.
I think Gibson's been a little bit inaccurate on those. I think he's been a little shaken on them for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that plays in it to it not working. I think we also have been pretty lackluster on our participation with our tight ends. I know, this was the most time that we've gotten tight ends in, but I think this was also a lot of garbage time where we were doing plays that weren't status quo, weren't what we set up for the week. I think Garrison, Fish is back. I don't know Fish's availability, but thank goodness Fish is back. We love Fish.
He played a
But
bunch
even
of
Brody
snaps,
Judd,
so
like we loved what we saw in spring from Brody Judd. He did get a pass this past game, so that was awesome to get him on the stat sheet. But like I think tight ends are not being used enough. I think slot receivers are not being used enough. I think just in general, like it's hard to see a game like Idaho. It's hard to see a game like Sac State where we just like we unleashed. Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes, especially in Sac State. A god awful amount of mistakes. But to have an offense that's potent and moves down the field and scores more than 30, and to like move away from that schematically, because like I believe schematically they went away from it. The screens and the flats, those got to stop, especially against these next couple teams. Like, they might not be as talented, but I would say they are at least as athletic, if not speedier, than Montana State in some ways.
Ooh.
Not
Montana
top tier
State
speed.
did not miss a single open field tackle though, which I think
Yeah.
which is crazy. So I think some of those like swings maybe turn into 1 or 2 yard gains instead of 4 yard losses against not as quite as good of teams.
I think Cheeks probably had the most fruitful of all of them, but he also didn't have to start from the flats, so that was helpful. But just the regression to outside screens, like, don't. Oh, I hate seeing those. That's just calling for a hospital trip. There, I liked more of like what we were doing against Sac State, and I think we even kept it going a little bit against UC Davis. Is the comeback routes. Even if it's a tight end, if it's a running back, somebody that just goes up and just comes right back towards the line, kind of hovers right there, more shallow than the middle linebacker. If we need to save 3-4 yards, I think that's a great option. I get why they're not going across the field. Excuse me, across the middle of the field, because that has been kind of our that's probably our most danger zone, is the middle and weak linebacker. Right there have been our crux. But I don't know, I don't want to see them take away options. I mean, we have Menegatti, we have like Wooten. Wooten's been barely involved in the pass game this year. Like, I feel bad for those guys that aren't really getting a chance to shine, and like schematically we have the possibilities to show that. And I get it. Good teams, so maybe they took those possibilities away. I just don't want us to go back to you know building with mega blocks when we could be building with Legos. Like, we can have, excuse me, we can have a complex offense without breaking the bank, without putting everybody 50 plays deep. Like, it's just I think part of our problem is Montana State was expecting um, one of three routes to see from us, and they jumped them.
Yeah, and but I think my overarching point is those are the same 3 routes they've been running all year. Like, I don't think we've changed like back. I don't think we like had grown beyond that and then regressed back to it. I think that they were kind of maybe mixing them well and disguising things well, and the rest of the teams have just caught on. Because I remember all early season I was like, I don't know how they just keep throwing deep to Cheeks and Monroe and nobody can stop it. And I just think teams have made a point to stop that. And you can throw it into double coverage, but you're going to be much less successful and get more picks on those outside balls. So I think it's like the counter to the counter that they really need to figure out. And I agree with you. I like some of those like interior, like instead of like the running back slipping out to the flat, like slipping through the line and the little comebacker up. It just seems like those tend to be more open. I also, though, I think, Ben, this will be a good way to kind of pivot us forward to Northern Arizona. I think there's a chance they run all the same stuff and it just works for the next 3 weeks. Like, I think it's probably not, you're not going to have the success on the outsides deep like they had earlier in the year, but I think those like timing, like RPO slant routes that River Stout was getting hit the minute he got the ball, I think maybe there's an extra second next week and they're able to hold on to it. And I think that's a fair piece of it too. Or they swing the ball out to Brandon Johnson on the outside and he makes a guy miss. And instead of getting tackled for 4 yards in the backfield, he gains 3 or 4. Maybe he makes a second guy miss and goes for like 15 or 18. So I do understand the qualms, and watching it has been frustrating. But I don't necessarily think that it's like coaching scared. And I don't think that they've really changed that much. I think that the changes have come against us. And maybe it's like a lack of secondary adjustments.
Yeah, looking forward at NAU. Man, we're gonna have to throw the ball. It's gonna have to happen. Like, I don't know. Like, our running game we had such a good pace at the beginning of the year, and then Price got hurt and whatnot, and just our run game is, I don't know, maybe it's playing into why Gibson's doing so well. It's because he has to throw the ball. But yeah, I would like to see our leader for rushing yards get somewhere close to 600 before the end of the year. Right now, Price is at 397, so I feel like that's possible. Not exactly that they're killing it either with Cromwell only at 500. So Seth Cromwell still going to be a problem. He's got 7 touchdowns on the year, but like it's going to be a battle through the air. I think this is going to be hopefully an exciting game, kind of a throwback to what we've seen in the middle of the season of just like maybe one of those barn burners we saw with Sac State. Like Ty Pennington, he's had an interesting year. He's been clean but not exciting, clean but not winning as many games as they definitely were picked to win. So I think this actually means a little bit something for the boys this week. I think battle for the northern of the Big Sky. We need a trophy for this game. We got one for volleyball. Why can't we get one for football? Like even if it's a itty bitty little one. Like come on now. But Ty Pennington, like I think he's going to be our biggest problem. But also like 2 interceptions on the year, like that can't stay. Like he's got to get dirty at some point. He's got to get sloppy. They're going to get desperate trying to make that playoff push. Like I just want to see Chappa pick the hell out of him.
Yeah, I think the thing that scares me about Pennington is I think he's like an actual quarterback, where a lot of these college quarterbacks are good athletes and they scheme some open throws. I think Pennington is just like a good old-fashioned quarterback who will stand in the pocket, makes his read. They throw deep, which has been kind of it feels like if you're going to beat this UNC defense in the pass game, it's not through like 4 yards here, 5 yards here. It's because you got like a deep one for 20, 30, 70 yards. So that scares me a little bit, but I think interesting too, them coming off of a loss to Idaho, which I don't think anybody really saw coming. I sure didn't see coming. And they're going to be disappointed in that. I do like, I hadn't thought about it. Pennington, with how much they do like take chance, they throw deep. They're smart about it, but they throw they don't just kind of dink and dunk. And the fact that he's only managed 2 interceptions, it's a good like testament to him, but also I think there's a bit of luck there. And maybe Cam Chappa lurking in the secondary, who once again, I say Montana State's secondary didn't miss a single open field tackle. I'm not sure Cam Chappa's missed an open field tackle in his life. Like he's just so sure-handed. But and also one positive, UNC's rush defense looks solid. In the set, I'm not going to really count kind of that garbage time end of third or like fourth quarter stuff to the fifth stringer. When it really mattered, they were they were able to stop the run. That two-headed monster at Jones and Davis. They kudos there. Hopefully they figured something out. I'm kind of just talking in circles and not even about Northern Arizona at this point. So what you got, Ben?
Interestingly, the stats are eerily similar for Gibson and Pennington outside of the interceptions. Gibson, 190 completions out of 291 attempts, 2,149 yards, and 10 touchdowns. We'll leave the interceptions out because we don't want to talk about those. Pennington, literally 291 attempts as well, 188 completions, 2,240 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Like, it's weird, but we have a very similar quarterback. I think they operate quite differently because Pennington has gotten a lot more play calling through the ground, a lot more yards to the ground and touchdowns. So he does have touchdowns on the ground, but at least passing wise, statistically, these are very similar productivity out of these two, even though they've had wildly different seasons.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess I am probably underselling how athletic Pennington is because he is athletic, but he feels different. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass, but he does feel like more of a quarterback than even Gibson. I think that's probably a good Gibson is a weird example of that wide receiver turned quarterback because he's really not that fast. Like I'm sure he's pretty quick, like straight line speed, but just hasn't been a part of the game really. So he's more of a pocket passer, and he's been accurate. But I still don't. I wonder if partially like also the route tree, the like simplified stuff is that he's a wide receiver turned quarterback. But granted, he's been QB for enough years now. I digress, but I think if we can kind of keep Cromwell under wraps, if we can force Pennington into those third and longs, which our defense has done a pretty solid job of, like, if they're able to stuff a run short on first down, then it's like a second down completion for 3 yards and you face 3rd and 8. Like that's where UNC thrives. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how they attack this one and kind of what they look like after just quite frankly being embarrassed against Montana State. Like, how do they respond after just a good old-fashioned ass kicking that they haven't dealt with this year? But a lot of these guys have dealt with plenty throughout the last couple of years.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the last 3 weeks we've faced the top 3 running offenses. Okay, include Idaho. We've had 4 out of 5 in the last 4 weeks. Idaho being 5th, Montana 4th. Northern Arizona is thankfully 7th, so they're a cool 700 yards behind Montana State. So at least it will be a little bit less of a problem there. I'm confident in our ability to be able to pick off Pennington. He plays very clean. So I think the one thing that holds me back from being too confident against that is it reminds me of Jordan Cook. Is like Cook is a good quarterback player, but I wouldn't say he's a good quarterback as itself. Like, he plays the position well, but like we saw even when he was here, like his completions were only about 50%, 55%. And he did have just those 1 third down balls that really just put the dagger in the game, unfortunately. So I think that's going to be where we need to go, is just solid pass coverage. Don't forget about the run defense, but solid pass coverage, and we need a little bit of pressure. I don't think we really got hardly anything outside of Ekubon getting in the backfield and Butts getting, well, if Butts' penalties were sacks, we would have been in business, but unfortunately he was just a bit late each time.
I am shocked that Chappa didn't get a targeting on that hit against Taco Dowler.
Really?
Yeah, the one that like popped his helmet off. Like, I don't think it was a dirty play, but that's just the exact type of play that gets called targeting almost every time.
With our luck, probably.
I
thought it was just a clean football move. Was it just Chappa? Because I saw the two bears coming at him at once and just saw like Taco get rocked, and I was like, ooh, he's gonna need to go get some water.
The one I noticed was Chappa. I thought it was Chappa coming over the top as the safety and the corner just kind of trailing him, but there may have been a third guy in the equation.
I think I was down on the field at the time because that was right before half, right?
Yeah.
I was right before half, so I saw like a field version of it of just like Taco coming and just bam, just like up, right, down.
Good. Just like a good old-fashioned football play. I will see. You just don't see the safety coming over the top with hate in his heart anymore. You know, just ready to lay somebody out. And Taco Dowler got his revenge. He got his revenge on that 70-yard touchdown play. For sure.
But yeah, Chappa out there looking like Ryan Clark or something.
Well, I think this is a pretty good time. We have a lot of around the FCS stuff to get to. Plus, Ben, I need to get out to Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue, get myself some lunch before they close here on Sunday. Go say hi to Todd and Heath, a couple great guys making really good food. We always talk about the barbecue, the hot dogs. They have ribs, they have wings, they have sliders, they have just about anything hot sausage. The menu's overwhelming, so just be ready for that. But it's like overwhelming in a Cheesecake Factory way, where you're like, I love all these options. Yeah, I think as always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Ask your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. And if you don't like what we're doing, Ben's inbox is always open. Bear Claw Media Complaints Department. He's ready to go. Got those dukes up already. So have a good one.